Greetings and welcome to Stunthangar Video. It's Charles Carter, and I'll be your host this evening. I want to thank you for watching Stunthangar Video Hangouts. If you are watching this as a replay, to live streams every Monday and Friday evening starting at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please make a note of this so you can watch or be part of the live stream. Plus, we have an after party following the live stream, which is sometimes better than the live stream portion. You must be a registered Stunthangar Forum member to find the link to be part of the live stream and the following after party. Here at Stunthangar Video Hangouts, we talk about building and flying model airplanes, sport flying, competition flying, and what you've been doing lately. To join our conversation, if you are already a member of Stunthangar Forum, you can find the link if you scroll down to the section called At the Bench, which is right below in memory of our friends. Now, if you're not a member, please log into Stunthangar Video Hangouts and register. And when you register, please put a space between your real first and last name and a valid email address, or Sparky, the proprietor of Stunthangar, will not approve you. Now, if you're inclined to not come in but just enjoy watching us on YouTube, great, fantastic. You can enter your questions or comments over here in the chat box, and I'll do my best to make them a part of the show. And understand, sometimes even I can't get a word in myself. So be patient, and I will ask our illustrious panel your question or state your comments. And by the way, to get the Stunthangar, it's stunthangar.com/SMF. That's stunthangar.com/SMF. That's Smart Men Flying. That's courtesy of Jeff Riley. Pardon me. So like I said, I do this every Monday and Friday evening starting at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to have your comments or questions posted, you need to do it during a live stream. So come on in then, ask your question, and maybe bow out and then come back and watch the remainder of the show at a more convenient time. I know that this time is not convenient for everybody, and there's no way I can make it convenient for everybody because we have people all over the globe watching this show. So thank you for tuning in. Now, if you find the Stunthangar Video Hangouts that I host, or the many building videos, videos at John Jordan's garage, the contest coverage that Sparky does, he does a lot on this platform. If you find that enjoyable and informative, please hit the thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, that helps the analytics of the show. And don't forget to consider to subscribe. It won't cost you anything to subscribe. That's free also, but it helps support us. And speaking of supporting us, you can join Stunthangar's YouTube channel memberships, which start at just $4.99 a month, which is less than 17 cents a day. I mean, think about going to Starbucks one time less a month. That's about what it costs to support our show. So we're not asking a lot. Matter of fact, I am a member myself. I have the $4.99 come out of my own checking account. I don't miss it. I suspect you won't miss it either. Plus, you'll be supporting, hopefully you enjoy building and flying model airplanes. Now, if you don't want to do the monthly subscription, you can go over here to the chat box. There, right below the chat box, there is a big $sign. That's called a super chat. You can do the super chat, but that's only available during a live stream. So again, you need to be tuned in Monday or Friday or both, and show your support by smashing that super chat and donating any amount you like. Now, this is Sparky's YouTube channel. I have my own channel, so if you want to get in touch with me, please go to Flying Control Line Stunt. That's Flying Control Line Stunt. Just think about what we do. We fly control line stunt planes. At least I do. And so that's what my channel is called, Flying Control Line Stunt. If you go there and locate a video, it's called the 2019 AMA National Championship video, which is a video which Sparky shot with his video camera of me flying his beautiful Junar XL. And you might have seen the build videos on that. He's built several models very similar to that, but you can see it fly. And there you can communicate with me there. You can if you post something there, I'll see it and I'll be notified and I'll be able to respond to you quickly. Now I want to thank you for your past, your present, and future support. You are making it happen. Please keep the conversations family room friendly. In other words, please don't use words or do things that you wouldn't say around your own children or grandchildren. Without any further ado, I'm going to now post a link at Stunthangar right now. Let me go there now and post that. And that's how you get into the show. You go to stunthangar.com/SMF and go to At the Bench. And if you go to the At the Bench link, you will see a link with today's date on it. Click on that one, and that'll bring you right into this basically a Zoom call meeting. And let me get to what I call the control panel. And I hope everybody had a good week heading toward the weekend. And I hope everybody's safe. I know there's some people that are in some terrible situations with the weather and stuff. Hope you're safe and all that. Let me go to what I call the control panel. I see there are some people there already. I appreciate that. That is awesome. Looks like Keith Trossel is getting ready to make his way in here. And I'll be right with you, Keith. Let me see here what's going on. Okay, let's see here. I did go out flying today with my buddies, and we had a good time. Beautiful weather, amazing how beautiful the weather was today. So let's see here. I see we have Gary Sinclair. He said like provided. And I see Tommy 10533. He's also a member. So is Gary Sinclair. He is a member of our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Tommy. He says, hi, everyone. Liked, given. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Dennis Adamison, he says, hi, everyone. He's also a member. I can tell that because they have like some sort of identifying symbol next to their name. And he says, hi, everyone. Like provided. We'll join you in a few. And then Jonathan Carradas, he says, yo, Charles, tried to get in, but obviously doing something wrong from subtropical storm battered Auckland, New Zealand. Yeah, Jonathan, if you just go to the At the Bench link, which is inside the Stunthangar forum website, you should be able to see, if you look for a section called At the Bench, which is right below In Memory of Our Friends. Now, if you don't see At the Bench right below In Memory of Our Friends, that means you're not logged into or you're not a registered member of Stunthangar Forum. So that's how you get in. And let me welcome everybody in here. Hey, Lynn Burrell, thank you very much for coming in. Keith Trossel, thank you for coming in. And Mark Gerber's making his way in here. And sir, I don't know sure who you are. You're Miller B2. Who's that?
Yeah, first name's Barry. I don't know why it's doing Miller B2, but I'm just a newbie, just checking it out, seeing what's going on.
Oh, fantastic. Barry, I really appreciate that, Barry. Now, if you put the cursor over where your name is on the bottom, you should be able to change it. I think you might need to right click it and then you can type in your name. I know mine says Stunthangar and I have never changed it.
Yeah,
so you don't have to change yours, but it'd be easier for me to know who you are until I see you more frequently. Mark Gerber, thank you for coming in, Mark.
Hey, Charles.
And looks like Mark Wise is making his way in here. And we have a new person in the chat box, Willie. He said, what's up, guys? What's up with you, Willie? And then Willie says, you have a beautifully shaped head. That's funny. Well, you know what? If the judges like it, maybe it might give me a few more points. That'd be nice.
Is he talking about you?
I don't know. What you know what? That's right. Are you talking about me, Willie, or which head amongst us are you talking about?
I think he's talking about a PA 65. That's got a pretty head.
Yeah, that's true. I think Lynn Burrell is in stiff competition though with somebody.
He does. He has a pretty head.
He has a real nice shaped head. Yeah, he does. Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
you
you're
don't
lucky.
have-
You're lucky
you-
that you and I can play off no hair. You know what I mean?
You don't have, I was just gonna say, you don't have any hair, so you can tell if it's good looking or not, just like that.
And let me welcome in Dennis Adamison. Hey, Dennis.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Dennis.
And did I welcome you, Mark? Did I say hi? I know I've spoken to you throughout the week, so I get a little bit.
You
I
did.
say hi. Okay, cool.
You did. Thank
Great.
you.
Well, we have a new guy here, Barry. So, hey, Barry, not to put you on the spot, but let me know. Do you fly RC? Do you fly control line? And if you do,
No, I'm control line. Yeah, I got into control line about back into it about 4 years ago.
great. Now, what are you
So
flying right now?
I'm flying. I'm flying a few things right now, but I'm going to the contest. I'm from Virginia. I've been going to all the contests around here. So me and my brother have kind of gotten into it, back into it again from like a 20-year, 25-year layoff.
And I did the same thing. I was off for at least almost 30 years, and I got back into it about 20 years ago. So you said a couple planes you're flying. What models are you flying right now?
I'm actually flying a Gypsy that I just got built in the middle of last year. And then I got a Cardinal and a Viking I'm flying right now.
Now, I saw a Gypsy on the cover of Stunt News. Was that your Gypsy?
No. That was Tim Staggs from Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, that purplish and whitish looking one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Tim Staggs.
Very cool. So what level do you fly at in contests?
I'm at expert right now.
Very good. Very
Getting
good.
my butt handed to me.
Oh, experts got to be. I mean, I get my butt handed to me in advance. I'm thinking advance is a tough neighborhood, but I can only imagine expert is insanely difficult neighborhood to compete in.
Yeah, there's a lot of good flyers in there.
That is great. They were very much welcome. Come in anytime. And I'm glad you're showing up. I appreciate that. That's glad for you try. Let me welcome some other guests here. Gary Sinclair, thank you very much for coming in and being in the chat box, just like Dennis Adamison was in the chat box and came in. I consider all of you guys are all VIPs, but doing that helps the analytics of the program. So I appreciate that. And Brad Lapointe, thank you, Brad, for coming in. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Charles.
Great. And John Carradas, you did it.
Well, just grabbed my oxygen mask for I'm in rarefied atmosphere now with you guys.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming in. And I appreciate all the comments and questions you've been asking for months in the chat box, because I really want the chat box to be part of our conversation. And I need to have someone out there who has questions and comments, because I know we have an audience right now. We have an audience of about 20 people, and it helps. Matter of fact, there's a new person I haven't seen his name. His name is Hefty K. He says, very cue ball. Now, are you talking about Lynn Burrell? Are you talking about me? Or are you talking about Stuart? Welcome, Stuart. Thank you for coming in, Stuart.
All right.
Got quite a few cue ball heads in here. And Hefty K said, what type of planes? Well, for the most part, most of us in here fly control line stunt and control line combat. There's some other, I know we've had some guests that did carrier. I think Pete Kuna, I know he did a lot carrier. He just came in, but it doesn't have to be any of those. You can just do RC if you want. It's not closed to anybody, really. I mean, if you don't even fly, if you're interested, come on in. And then Hefty K says, I'm only 24 and not a pilot, so I don't know much about planes. Well, that's fine. That's fantastic, Hefty. You can learn about planes along with us. I mean, you learn the stunt pattern and you spend the rest of your life trying to perfect it. So that's all good. Next is Let's RC. He says, just wanted to say hi, guys. Thank you. And guess who is the man who has the best head and Hefty's K opinion? It's you.
Two?
It's Lynn. Lynn, it's
yeah.
you.
Oh,
It's Lynn. And I know Naomi's probably thinking, well, I knew that all along. Oh, you're muted, by the way, Lynn. You're muted.
Oh, I finally won something.
Len looks very symmetrical.
Yeah, well, they told me that if my head was round enough, I could do good loops anyway. Just follow my head for the
Yeah.
loop.
Very good.
Beautiful head.
And then Willie says it's not fine. I'm not sure what he means. Oh, he was saying the bottom right has a gorgeous dome, but whoever's on the bottom right at one time, our screens, our galleries change, so I really can't. But we have names in the bottom left of our gallery, so you can see who that person is by name. Anyways, welcome everybody. So did anybody have a chance to do any flying or work in their shop you want to share with us?
We still have snow drifts on our field and getting ready to start the nitrate dope on my big job.
Oh, very good.
Beautiful.
Got the canopy on.
Oh, great. Hopefully you can show us what you got going on sometime.
You want to see it?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, we'll get it.
Let's see your progress.
Doesn't look like
While
much
you're
now.
getting that, let me talk to Mark Gerber. So Mark, you raised your hand. You did something in your shop as well, or what?
Yeah, I've been working on the Bearcat. I got a few things to show you if you want to let me share the screen.
Okay. Did I fix that already? I think I did fix that already. So right now we have 23 concurrent viewers and 16 likes. If you haven't smashed that like button, please do that. Wow,
Nice.
look at that.
All right.
That looks
Very
really nice.
Should wait till Keith gets back here.
Okay, yeah, he'd probably like to see that.
Looks like Len.
Oh, I can't fly everybody's plane, Mark.
That's funny. That's funny.
So I got the seat back and the rollover bar finished. So this isn't glued in at all. I'm going to paint it separately once I get the overall airplane painted and the parts of the cockpit. Then I'll glue that back in, and then I'll also paint and glue the pilot in.
Where'd the canopy come from?
Who's asking?
That's Keith.
That's me, Keith.
You know where it came from.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
The park flyer.
And that's Raby's Bearcat canopy, I think, right?
Well, it's the one I got from
Yeah,
the park flyer place that you pointed me to.
yeah.
And then here's the little front view of it
Nice.
Oh,
with the pilot from the Jet Hangar Hobbies. I haven't hung the oxygen hose on his mask yet, but I'll do that too when I get ready to finish it all.
Very
Then
nice.
last week we were talking about paint masks. And so this is the paint job I'm going to use on my plane. This is a Bearcat that's on the USS Monterey off Pensacola back in about 1950. And my dad was on the USS Monterey during World War II.
Oh, neat.
And they used the Monterey as a training carrier after the war. So it spent a lot of time off of Pensacola. And my uncle, who was a pilot, was a lot younger than my dad, qualified his carrier landings on the Monterey around 1953 or 54.
cool.
So I took Raby's Bearcat 3 plans and I did them in CAD. I think I've mentioned that before. And so in order to get the lettering and everything straightened out, I just used the outline I had from the CAD drawings that I have and put in the lettering and the insignias where I thought they would go and scaled them to about the right size and everything. the lettering comes from it's called an Amarillo USAF font that you can get. And it's pretty cool because it gives you the black letters and the numbers, just by typing them in. You don't have to do all the detailed drawing and lay out the whole thing like I used to have to do. And if you take them and ungroup them or explode them, you can get rid of the coloring in them and you just get the lines that represent the outline, which is what you
Nice.
want for making stencils.
That's perfect.
So I took these and then constructed the stencils. Here's the procedure I'm going to use to paint it. It's got the primer coat will be the base. And then I'll spray white behind the areas where the insignias and the lettering will go. And then I get these paint masks, which I'll show you in a minute. And I'll stick those on. Once I get those all on there, I'll paint the whole airplane, the sea blue. And then once I get that done and that gets cured well, I'm using glass coat epoxy. Then I can paint the red bars and the insignias. I got these masks here that just paint the red bars. And then I'll be done and be ready for any ink lines I want to do in the final coat. And then, so this is the master stencil that I gave to the sign shop that's down the road here. And the thing that I was really surprised about when I talked to them, because they had done some work for me a few years ago, was they just need a PDF version of the letters. They don't need all the vector information like you have with some of the other cutting machines. So that made it much easier just to generate the PDF file. And you can see the size of this thing is actually 30 by 30. So these are fairly large numbers and letters and insignias. And so today I went down, this is what I got back. So
Wow.
this was pretty cool. It cost me $47.05 to get all this stuff cut out for me, which I thought was pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very nice. Yeah, it's going to save you a lot of time.
You can see by the yardstick up there what the size of these
Yeah.
is going to be.
Big.
And then I took one, I just laid it on the wing so you can just get a representation of the size, but this is where one of the wing insignias will go. Once I get the primer coat to where I'm happy with it, then I'll paint the white and stick these on it. And then once I get them all on over the entire airplane, then I'll be ready to go for the insignia blue. So that's what I did this week.
Busy.
Very, very nice. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. So let's see here. Keith, he's going to show us your big job, right?
Yeah. Well,
Let me make it big.
it's basically what you saw a couple of days ago, I think, but let's see. Here we go.
Wow, that still looks good, though.
Yeah, it does.
I can look at it all the time.
Looks sharp.
Yeah. So how many coats of nitrate you going to put on there?
I start with 4 really thin coats of nitrate. And then that'll be the base for the carbon mat on the fuselage and tail. And it'll be the base also for the flex coat, whatever it is I'm putting on the wing.
Very, very nice.
Oh, and you can still see the scar that I made for the tip box being on the wrong side of the wing.
Right. Yeah.
So it's down there now.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. That's almost as bad as I know one guy, a really good flyer, put the lines on the wrong side.
Oh,
Oh,
Ooh,
Yeah. I don't know what he did to correct it, but it was a chore.
oh, I can only imagine.
Keith, what are you using for power in that?
This will be the Double Star 60.
Okay, thank you.
from Roy Trantham. So it's not like, well, there
Yeah,
aren't very many double star 60s around, and this one was one that's set up by the guy in Ukraine who makes them. So
nice work.
anyway, it's coming along.
What's the plane, Keith? I don't recognize it.
Oh, this is the big job by Tony
Ah, I know the name.
Yeah, Tony, it's actually a design and built by Addy Nacarado. There's a picture of this thing in a 1953 Air Trails, and the caption under it says that Addy built or designed this thing in 1948.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's kind of ahead of its time in a way, because
Mm.
it had a long tail and a big tail, which airplanes from that era didn't have long tails.
No.
And it's a pretty good size tail, and it's at least an 18% airfoil. And again, you didn't see that very often in those days.
Amazing foresight.
Yeah, she was way ahead of her time. And you've heard me say before, I think this big job and several I've seen is one of the 4 best flying old-time airplanes that you can do if you're searching for a really good flying old-time airplane. This is one of them. It's
Very nice.
first one I did very well for me for a number of years.
If you had to, would you fly that in Pampa and on Sundays?
The last one didn't, because it wouldn't handle the 4-leaf clover very well. What makes this thing really great for old time is you can do 60-degree loops. And the only time you need to have really tight loops would be the vertical 8, where the vertical 8 has to be done in 90 degrees. But everything else you can use 60-degree loops. And this thing, it's a dream to fly when you're flying 60-degree loops.
Okay.
And this one, I think, is going to be a little bit lighter than the last one. So I'm kind of hoping that we might be able to coach this thing through a regular AMA pattern. We'll see with the square loops. One thing I do know, when at the end of the pattern, this thing will do a terrific square loop. I mean, it just turns on a dime. At least my first one did.
Very
Keith,
nice.
will that have a chin-mounted undercarriage?
Pardon? Say
Will
again?
that have a chin-mounted undercarriage?
Oh, yeah, it's, I should go, I'll bring that in. Hold on. It'll take a minute.
No problem. Let me just welcome Philip Bailey. Thank you for coming in, Philip.
Oh, glad to be
Gordon
here.
Delaney, thank you for coming in, Gordon. Appreciate that. So that gives a crowd of 13 people. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I
Wow.
appreciate it. And while he's away, let me catch up on the chat box. Let me see here. Hefty goes on to say, sorry for bringing us on a tangent about domes. No problem. And then because, Lynn appreciates having something good said about him. And then Hefty
Don't worry,
goes
Steve
on-
will be on later.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Hefty goes on to say FOL. And then Willie asks, he goes, has anyone ever flown a B-2 bomber? Anybody know of a B-2 bomber in competition or at sport flying?
I've seen him in RC, but I've never flown one.
I
That's-
suppose you could say my dad's big wing design was a backward B-2 bomber.
Yeah.
You
No.
get, when Keith finishes, maybe I can put that one up and
Closest thing I've seen
Scare
to a
everybody,
B2 would
so.
be I have an XB35, but it's 049 with 2 golden bees. And that's as close. I have seen a XB35 flown with 4 KNB 61s, but one guy managed the motors and the other guy flew the airplane. 2 people to manage this thing. They're quite a handful. Flying wings are a handful.
Let me welcome Carl Reed. Thank you, Carl, for coming in. And so we're just waiting on Keith to get back. And there's nothing else said in the chat. And it looks like we're all caught up.
Charles, I'd like to say, you remember last week I showed you my Heinz 57? My stunt ship.
I don't remember you showing us your Heinz 57. I remember talking about it.
Yeah, I brought it up and showed you the airplane.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't remember. I'm
I
sorry.
remember it. Yep.
Just keep an eye on things. They brushed on 2 coats of dope on bare wood, just the wings only, and then waited 24 hours and lightly sanded it with 600 and tack ragged it. I covered it with polish span, and 1 coat of dope over the polish span was 0.8 of an ounce.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what it is. You know, that's 585 squares.
Yeah, I think when Sparky puts on a coat, I forgot how much weight he adds each coat of dope. I forgot. Now you're using butyrate or are you using nitrate? What are you using, Gordon?
I'm using butyrate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know he's using nitrate. I've never used nitrate. I've only used butyrate. How about you? What you gonna say, Lynn?
No, I was just gonna say my new airplane, I'm so scared of it getting heavy. I'm actually gonna cover it with ultra coat as opposed to doing the dope this time.
How big airplane is it?
It's impact size. So about just under 700 squares. And I'm gonna be using a PA-61 on a pipe, but I'm afraid it might not be enough power. I don't know. But I'm trying to keep.
My impact has a 40 in it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but it's
power.
but is it a high end 40? Are we talking 40 VF or are we talking
Yeah,
just
it's
a
a
regular?
VF.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
40
high end.
VF.
That has as much power as a lot of 60s.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm gonna run mine with a PA-61 on a pipe, and I'm trying to keep it as close to 60 ounces as I can finished.
Good luck, brother. Is yours take apart or one piece?
One piece.
Oh, you might can do it then.
The airframe. Go ahead. I'll talk after. Go ahead, Keith.
Okay, well, didn't want to interrupt, but
That's fine.
there's the landing gear.
It looks
Very nice.
Excellent.
All right. What I'm anxious to see is the classiest part of that airplane, the cowling.
Well, okay.
Wheel pants look great. When
Yeah,
you
they
get
do look great. Those wheel pants
The
do look
first-
nice.
The first time I saw one of those airplanes, it was Charlie Reeves, and that cowling just knocked me over. I said, "Wow, that is something."
Yeah, it is a neat styling of the cowling on that.
It really is.
And we
Neat
got Will
airplane.
Davis in the house. He says, "Gee, hi, Will. Thanks for coming in." All righty, so let me just pop out of this view here real quick, and then when he comes back, I'll make him big again.
Yeah, I wanted to see how he attached those wheel pants to the
Yeah.
lining.
Okay.
Put on my Heinz.
I
Hey,
agree.
here's just a quick shot of the, not a B2, but kind of a B2.
There you go.
So,
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I remember.
kind of a backwards B2. So
Yeah, I remember seeing that at Brodax, I believe.
How'd it fly?
extremely well,
Really?
like a trainer.
Like a trainer.
Oh, it's
Hey,
very, very stable and easy to fly, and it does a wonderful old time pattern. So
check out this cow.
it ain't as cool looking as that cowl, though. My God, I love that.
That cow,
That's
something else.
beautiful.
I'm on the same page as Phil with that. That's gorgeous. Both ends, the inlet and the outlet are just beautifully done.
Yeah.
That's like the
airplane.
signature part of the entire airplane. So
Mhm.
You know, the plans that Charlie drew up, the cross section of the outlet here is more of a U shape rather than a circle, but Tony's and Addie's was a circle back there, so that's what I did.
I didn't know that. That's good. That's nice to know.
But the
Very
original
nice.
had the, and I don't have a picture of it to show that, but that's the way I remembered it.
That's a crazy amount of work. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
And talking about Charlie,
Keith, well, you got that in your hands. Would you explain how you put your wheel pants on?
okay,
You know, how you anchor them to the,
well, it'd be easier to show. I gotta go get, I go get a ball driver first. But first I want to show you this, talking about Charlie Reeves.
yep, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Oh, that is nice. What a nice shot.
Yep.
I remember the silver and yellow one. I've seen it.
Mhm.
So Charles,
Yeah.
I've spent the last week trying to reduce weight out of my airplane I built the wing for it a couple of years ago. I built the tails for it a number of years ago because they were in my last airplane that crashed. And so I've been trying everything I can to reduce weight out of this airplane. I cut the elevators off of the stab, removed the horn, and shortened the arms on the horn to take a half an ounce off it. I've pulled more weight out of this airplane, and I haven't even built it yet. It's crazy.
Wow. That is good. That's good
Just
work.
pulling ounces, like I cut the wheel spats from the old landing gear down, put different wheels on it. I'll show you the parts in a few minutes.
That is very, very good. Very, very good.
What airplane is this now?
Impact.
That's
or
the
close to it.
Impact?
Yeah, very close to it.
Are you sure you haven't been reading Al Raby's articles? That's what he did on his Mustang, the one that he was going to take to the world. He even sharpened the horns. I mean, it came down to an absolute point on the tip.
I've cut 4 ounces out of the weight of this airplane just by cutting stuff back and making
Very
stuff go
good.
away. Yeah.
Very good.
Wow, you have really cheese-classed that puppy.
Let me welcome John Miller. Hey, John, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
So Len, you're becoming Sparky.
Well, I'm scared. I know, it's exactly it. I used to build lumber wagons and now I can't do it.
All right, there we go.
Here we go. Go ahead. You have the
Okay,
microphone.
here we go. I don't know if you'll be able to see how this
We
works.
see.
The pants are held on by one 440 bolt right here. We'll take that one bolt out and then you'll see how it works.
Whoops.
And anyway,
Wow.
it's got a channel
Very nice.
that the strut goes into, so that pretty well keeps it, channel keeps it lined up as far as
Okay.
wobbling this way. And just the ones, there's a blind nut
Yeah.
inside here. And so one 440 screw goes into here and that's what holds it on. And
That is sweet.
it holds it in place and it doesn't wobble
Hmm.
and pretty well locks it in place. Keeps it lined up.
Very nice, Keith.
That is awesome.
How does that key onto your landing gear? I kind of missed that.
What's that?
How is it keyed on there so it don't wiggle?
Oh, I don't know if you can see. You
It's
can
like a
see
recess there, Gordon.
Oh, the recess.
there's a plywood plate here that goes on the inside, attaches it to the rest of the bolts of wheel pant. And then there's like 16th inch ply here on either side that acts as a channel for the strut
Strut.
to go
Yeah.
into there.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Okay.
and set screw just
Very
keeps
nice.
falling off, but the channel,
Yeah, hold it up close to this camera. Yeah.
see if you can see there.
That
There
is
you go.
sweet.
Very nice,
The
Keith.
one set screw sets it in place, but it just drops in.
Do you know how much your wheel pants weigh?
Together, I think they were like 2/3 of an ounce,
2/3 of an ounce each or both?
both.
Wow. That's
Awesome.
incredible.
And
I like
They're-
that.
of course, there's a big hole in there for the wheels,
Right.
but there's a lot of bolts that have been taken out.
Now, have you got
Right.
have glass cloth or anything over them?
I'll do this thing. I'll put the nitrate dope on it and a couple coats and then cover it with the carbon mat. That's what I did the last ones and they held up. And they don't. The problem is you get oil soaked inside and I put 2 coats of finishing resin on the inside here. So hopefully when oil gets in there, it doesn't soak in. The other ones stayed pretty clean after the 12, 13 years.
So
You
how
just
did that carbon go around all those compound curves?
Well, that's the neat thing about the carbon mat as opposed to silk span or even silk, because with the dope, you can get that thing to go around compound curves very easily. You just have to be careful because it's so flimsy that you'll sometimes start pulling apart.
Oh, yeah,
But
okay.
you got to rub it in with your finger and get it plenty wet with a nitrate dope. And don't rub too much or you're going to shred the carbon mat. But then if you have an overlap, go ahead and slice it. And if it's too much of an overlap, take some of the overlap away so you don't have to sand so much, but eventually you can get all that overlap to go away a lot easier than you can with silk span.
Yeah, I
It
used to cover
takes a
my,
lot of sandpaper, and the carbon mat and the sandpaper really chews up the sandpaper real quick.
yeah, I've always covered mine with silk.
You can do that, but I like the carbon mat. I think it's lighter after you're through because you sand most of the carbon away after you get the thing sanded down through the nitrate down into the carbon mat. And you can tell you're getting into carbon mat because it starts turning from black, it starts turning gray.
Oh, yeah.
And then you know you've done enough. And then for the overlap, you keep sanding on the overlap and you can get that overlap to go away. So it's a lot easier to work with than silk, and particularly a lot easier to work with than silk span, going
Yeah.
around compound curves.
That is gorgeous.
Well, thank you. That's great, Keith.
Thanks,
What
Keith.
sort of color scheme are you putting on it, Keith?
Be pretty much the same thing I used on the last one. I'll bring it out again.
Brent
He's
Williams
correct.
just joined us in the chat box. He says hi.
Yeah, there, and that's not an original paint scheme. That's copied from Don Still's Stuka stunt that he took to the World Championships in 1960.
Oh, wow.
There's a cover of an Aeromotor magazine in color that shows his color scheme like that.
Very nice.
Well, so what would you call that color? Is it a light blue of some kind? Or?
Yeah, it's a light blue over
Okay.
the main wing and tail surfaces, and then a dark blue to do this, and then with
Yes,
the airbrush, you do some shading from the dark blue to the light blue.
very nice.
Does that show up at all? A little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Yep. It's coming along nicely, Keith. Beautiful model.
Got a lot of work to do in the next 4 weeks to get ready for VSC. That's the problem.
You and
Yeah.
me both, Keith.
Yeah.
And you still gotta trim it.
Well, I'm getting to VSC a week early.
Oh, okay.
I did that last year and it blew all the time, so that may not work either.
Now, 2 years I've been there, it's been windy.
Yeah, it was windy the
So-
week before last year, and it wasn't very nice during the contest either. But I was there a week early and didn't get to fly more than a couple times a day.
hmm
But I got this thing to trim out, and I still have the new chiseler to trim out. And I don't know, they both may not work very well. We'll see.
Is the chiseler done?
Except for putting on the flap.
How's the weight on that one complete?
The chiseler, when it was new, was right at between 47.5, 48 ounces, which is too much for a chiseler. Dick Mathis's chiseler was like 38 ounces when he had just jet tissue on it.
Wow.
Wow.
And
Finish?
then he painted it. I don't know how much it weighed after that, but the one he had in the magazine was Jap tissue. It was all finished with red Jap tissue, trimmed with black Jap tissue and clear dope. And the first one he had was like 38 ounces on an over wing.
What's your lightest one you've had? You've had what, 3?
This is number 6.
Mhm.
This is about as good as any of them. There've been a couple of them pushed 49, 50 ounces, 47, 48, 47, 48 is what I end up with.
What engines? The Aero Tiger?
The double star. It's a
Oh.
double star 40 that's been stroked to a 42. So it's the weight of an OS 35 and the power almost of a Super Tiger 46.
Well, you can't beat that. I've got,
I think Lynn's ready to show us his fuselage.
Now, when you guys are done,
I'm through.
okay. there we go. We've
All
got
right.
the air outlet at the front for the airflow to go through. There's my cowl.
Very
I'll
nice.
sand it out. You see the pipe tunnel down there.
Very nice.
There's the top block, all carved out. Hang on a second here. Nothing's glued together yet. I've just been carving and sanding all week long.
Oh, very nice.
It's all cut out, all hollowed out as much as I can within reason. Then I've got the bottom tunnel block. Is this one here with the pipe tunnel,
Yeah.
and it's all carved down to just about nothing as much as I can.
Carving up
much.
blocks. Bill Woodward used to say, if you didn't cut too much out of your hollowing out, you haven't taken enough bolts out.
I haven't made a hole yet, but I've been close, I'll tell you. And then what I did with these landing gears is I made the spats about half the size they originally were.
Oh,
I
that's
put the
good.
latest wheels I could find on these.
Those look good.
So these wheels ended up being, both wheels are 3 ounces.
Nice.
Both frames, both wheels, 3
What
ounces.
size wheel is that, Lynn?
2.5. I wished I could get these in 2 1/4, but they don't make them in 2 1/4. But because they're so light,
Yeah,
like the 2 wheels alone are 7 grams.
very nice.
So they're just like, there's no weight to them at all. And then what I did do with the tails is I made this is the tail out of my last airplane, the one that crashed. I reused it. The weight of it is very low. It's like maybe 2 ounces at most. I can't remember the weights right offhand. And then I made a brand new set of elevators for it.
Very
Got
nice.
them all done and cut out. Again, so the total weight on the tails for all the tails, including the vertical tail, is 4 ounces.
Okay.
So anyway, up to this point, I've got an airplane that weighs 31 ounces
Wow.
with
a lot of
nothing in it,
airplane.
with nothing in it, and a
Yeah,
700
it's a lot
square
of
inch
airplane for
Mhm.
31 ounces. That's a lot of
There's a lot of
stuff.
airplanes with 31 ounces.
That's great.
The problem was, the reason I had to reduce the weight so much on everything else was because the wing weighs 16 ounces or
Okay.
almost 16 ounces. The new wing came out a little heavier than I wanted it. So now I'm like, I started getting, oh God, I gotta make sure everything else is as light as I can make it without
Right.
Is it-
sacrificing all the strength.
Right.
Foam or built up?
It's
Foam or
all
built
built up. It's built up. Yeah, it's
What
built
Mine's
wing
up.
area
home.
is it?
I'm sorry?
What would be the wing area? What would that be?
697.
Yeah.
Mine's a little bit bigger than the impact because I adjusted it at the time when I built the wing to have it a little more span. So I don't remember why, but I did. So anyway, it's 697 as opposed to, I think the actual impact of Paul Walker's is like 682 or something. It's not very much. It's between 3/4 of an inch and an inch on each panel. That's all added on. So that's what I've been up to.
Very cool.
Let's go.
Hopefully tomorrow I'll start covering.
Wow.
I'm just too
Start
afraid to
covering.
use,
You hadn't put clear on it yet, have you?
I'm not doing that. I'm doing iron on. I'm going to cover the wing
Oh,
and tails.
okay.
The wing and tails will all be done in iron on before I assemble the airplane. It's a lot easier to do that job before you assemble it than after.
Oh, yeah. Guarantee
Yeah.
you that.
So I'll do the whole airplane in ultra coat, and then I'll do the then I will assemble the whole airplane and then paint the fuselage.
I know we're not there yet, but
On the
when
rear
you,
fuselage, are those stringers, or are you gonna have sheet over the turtle deck?
I think what I'm gonna do is do stringers because that's the way I've cut it out. It's got the notches for the
yeah, I noticed
stringers.
that earlier. I saw that.
So I'm gonna put 1/8 square stringers and then sheet over it. Sheet over top of the stringers. So it has extra strength.
It's already boxed,
Probably-
isn't it?
I'm sorry?
You already have a flat sheet on the top of the fuselage there, don't you?
I
Like
don't
at the
know.
top of
The box?
You have the top of the fuselage already boxed in, right?
No, there's no sheet. It's all open.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's all open. There's no
I'd
sheet.
be, given your quest for weight, I'd be sorely tempted to use the, little bit taller stringer and just cover over it.
With tissue type of thing.
Yeah, or maybe use the ultra coat or something.
No, I won't put ultra coat on a fuselage. I know better than that.
If you seal all around it, it'll be fine.
Some guys say they can do it. I've never had any success. If I've ever ultra coated a fuselage, I end up with fuel seepage and an airplane that's ready for the garbage in a couple of years.
Mhm.
So I don't
Okay.
do it. I dope the fuselages and make sure they're painted up. I won't do it.
All right.
Lynn, you might want to think about X bracing inside that fuselage from trailing edge back.
What's that?
Putting X braces in, 8 by 1/4 inch balsa strips, and just
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I could do that probably.
I do that. You'll be amazed how much it strengthens it up and how
Rigid
little
it up,
weighs.
makes it more rigid. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
That's what this-
idea, actually.
That's what this thing has. It has truss work on both sides. And
Okay.
truss work across the top, even though there's a block here,
Okay, top and bottom?
and top and bottom here, and then the truss work is opposite on top and bottom. And
Okay.
this thing, it's got a real skinny.
That's a really good idea.
It's real skinny fuselage, but this thing is totally stiff. It does not bend.
That is a really good idea. I think I'll do that.
You'll be glad you did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I
Much
think so, too.
appreciated. I will do that. It's not gonna add a lot of weight, but it'll sure
No.
definitely help the strength.
For the
It's a
weight,
great idea.
for the strength you get, it's,
Oh, for sure.
you're not sacrificing much.
No, exactly.
I've never been. That's one thing that weighs a little bit that I've never been sorry I did.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
height 57, I put those in it. And it's a skinny fuselage like Keys. And it stiffens it right up. You can hold it by the back of the fuselage. It does not twist.
Yeah, I will do that. As soon as I finish getting the push rod and everything in and hooked up, then I will do the stringers before I glue the top and bottom blocks on.
Yep.
That's perfect.
I've got a different subject, but sort of related. Gordy, do you remember Bob English?
Oh, yeah.
He came out to the field one time and you look at his airplane and it looked like he had stringers on his turtle deck. And you went and looked at it and it was a block of balsa that he had carved,
Mhm.
make it look like there were stringers.
Wow.
He did
And
Wow.
nose these too, Keith.
what's that?
He did the nose that way too. And then
Yeah,
at the end, he radiused it for the spinner.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I flew with that airplane.
you had to go up and touch it to say, oh my goodness, that's a block. It's not covered. It's not fabric covered.
Yeah, I flew with Bob English back in the 60s in Lamb. And then got to fly with him. We went over there to, was it Vacaville? They had a little half circle of pavement and then the rest was grass at an airport. And we flew there a couple times. So he wanted me to fly his twin. 2 OS-40 LAs on it. And
Wow.
what was it, 130 ounces or something?
Whoa.
Mm.
And I said, no, I won't fly that, Bob.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think I'll look for a picture and try to bring it out next time. He did beautiful work.
Who's that?
Bob English, yeah.
Yeah, he does beautiful, beautiful work. I got pictures of some of his old airplanes from the 60s, had stars all over it.
I have a question for either Dennis or for you, Mark. I was just curious about the progress you're making on your planes. I know that you have a messed up wing jig for your plane, Dennis, and then Mark, I'm not
Yeah.
sure what's happening with your plane, but
Well, you've been hearing about all these skinny, thin fuselages, and thin may be in, but fat's where it's at, baby. All right.
wow, look at that, looks good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
of course the Brodak Corsair, and the only reason I wanted to show it off is that I made it round in front now too, instead of the blocks, and I just rubbed it in last night, so it kind of looks like a Corsair now. And
Yeah,
I got
sure
a lot
does.
of finishing that, the big shapes are done, but I still got to finesse everything out and everything like that. But, got the cowl made the last couple of days. That worked out. But, so I keep going back and forth between this and another project I had started and everything like that. But, I don't know, everybody's showing off such gorgeous stuff. I thought I should maybe hide that, but,
That's
it's,
good, Dennis.
but
Dennis,
there's no, when you're looking for a stiff structure, there's just no substitute for, for the cubic inches and everything like that. You get all of that, all of that area working for you.
Mhm.
And the curved balsa, like, when you curve the balsa like that, you get a lot of, the balsa itself gets stronger, a flat sheet. It's just too prone to buckling. A little bit of curvature goes a long way, so.
Ines, is that, I missed something there. Is that a control line?
Yes, it is.
And now you're an electric man, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
I was building this, I designed the electric conversions for Brodak.
oh, okay,
And this is the conversion for the Brodak Corsair.
okay.
Right, there's the battery box. And I've been talking to Brent Williams. He's making up some of his special battery shells for me. I'm going to try the lithium ion batteries in it. The battery box on it is 6 inches long, 4 1/4 inches wide, and 1.5 inches tall. So
Wow.
it's like I can literally put 3 batteries in it, 3 normal batteries
Oh,
side by
What,
side.
what sort of weight do you think that'll be when you finish? Roughly.
I don't know. I really haven't been keeping track of it. But I just started sort of weighing things here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably around somewhere between 45 and 50 ounces, I think. So
That's good.
it's I just using a kit wood and everything like that. There was one really bad piece of wood in there that I should have replaced it, but since it is just the kit and everything like that, and it actually has an external 1/4 inch doubler on it, and then that you eventually carve the shape, and that is just about the worst piece of wood I've ever seen, but I went ahead and used it anyway. Put it in perspective, when I carved the sides off the fuselage, I took 1.5 ounces off the fuselage.
Wow.
So that's a lot of nasty 1/4 inch balsa that came off of there. So
Nice job.
yeah, it's
Will
nice
that
and
be,
round anyway.
Will that be traditional Navy, Navy colors? Or
What again?
are you going to be doing that in the blue Navy colors?
I don't know. There's so many. The thing about Corsairs, there's a lot of different possibilities, and then not even getting into the air racers and stuff like that.
Yes.
So obviously the one obvious color scheme would be to make it just about like Mark showed us on his Bearcat. I mean, the same scheme works there. And then of course in World War II they had that tricolor, kind of a dark blue, medium blue, and white.
Yeah.
There's one that I really like that the RC guys have been doing. It has a gray fuselage and tail, and then just the outer wing panels are blue. All right.
Mhm.
And it's a real stunning look too. And of course, even with the blue ones, there's ones with like checkerboard cowls and or maybe the cowl might have like a green and white stripe on it or something like that. There's actually, even among the plain blue airplanes, the alleged plain blue airplanes, there's quite a bit. One color that I have had in mind, it'd be a basic blue, but back up near Detroit, where I was born and raised, there was a naval air station. It was a training station during World War II. It became a Naval Air Reserve base after that. And then when that closed up, it's now a civil airport. But, it's got history from Detroit and stuff like that. They seem like a good enough excuse to copy that. So and I just basically I just write Grosse Ile Naval Air Station on the airplane. So the words Grosse Ile, Isle, basically. And so
What do you got there? What do you got there, Keith?
Real neat book. It's a real neat book. Of course, this
Super Corsair.
You know, maybe what I should do is take the airplane, put it in a box, send it to Keith and say, here, handle it. So
No,
he's got the book and everything. So
if you put a bubble canopy on, then you could do this thing like the Bearcat had.
yeah, yeah.
And this book, who does this book come from? History and Collections. It's from Paris, France, but it's got all sorts of stuff in it.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Even, you know, the French had Corsairs, a distinct military mark. The Rondelle with a sea anchor on it and stuff. So even they had them, had some neat
Wow.
ones. So
That is
yeah,
neat.
there's really quite a few good choices. And then that insignia you just passed, some of them had the red outline on them. Some had the star and bar. Some did not have the red bar. Okay, there we go. Plain circle star. There's a lot of subtle choices there. So
Yeah, in ZAF flew them in the Pacific too,
mhm.
which was a similar.
Yeah, I discovered
similar-
while I was working on this, they built special versions for the British, and they clipped the wings on them slightly. They took like 8 or 10 inches off the wingtips because when the
Wow.
wings were folded, they hit the
Yeah.
roof of the hangars in the British aircraft carriers.
Yeah,
So for the Brits, they had to basically flatten out the wingtips so they would fit in the hangars.
Here
There we
you
go. There's the French markings there.
With the yellow bands, that's neat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On the
There's
wing too.
the anchor in the middle of the rondelle is a really striking
And
feature.
on the wings too, that makes a striking thing to see when it's flying the pattern.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
Keith,
formidable aircraft.
Wow.
Keith, you happen to mention Bob English. Is he still alive?
I don't know. I haven't seen him or heard of him for a long time.
mm-hmm.
It's when I left California, and that was what, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keith. That's great.
Thank you, Keith. That's great. Indeed.
Hey, Charles,
Yes, Lynn. I mean, Mark. Excuse me,
That's
Mark.
okay.
Yes.
I can tell you a what not to do story.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
That's valuable too.
This is a first for me, but of course I'm the same guy that put the tip weight box into 3 incorrect panels. Thank God I wasn't building a biplane.
Oh,
This
that's
is
good.
this is the inboard. It's not done yet, but that's the inboard tip for my impact.
All right.
And I use that kind of
That's it.
Nice.
arrangement.
Very nice.
But let me tell you what I did on the outboard tip. On the outboard tip, I made an oversized tip. Okay,
All right.
considerably oversized, and of course it was solid. I hadn't done anything to it, and I traced the outline of the wingtip on it. And then for some reason, I decided to go out further to be safe by about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. So then I had a smaller tip that was still oversized. Well, I kind of forgot about that. So then I got it to about the shape I wanted, even though the outline was big, and cut it in half and started hogging it out. Okay. And I try to get these edges to be about 1/4 inch. That's
Mhm.
just what I do. All right. Well, I did that. Well, guess what happened when I put it against the wingtip of the airplane?
Oops.
It was
Fit on
big.
it like a glove.
Yeah. Yeah. It fit over it, not on it.
Mm.
Mm.
So this is probably $15 of light balsa block. And I said, you know what? I'm not throwing it away. So what I ended up doing was taking some light balsa and building up the inside,
Right. Right.
okay, to give me a frame out here where I could just keep going down on it. And it finally worked. But I'll tell you what, it's just one of those brain farts. You know, you're going along, everything's going well, and then you say, wait a minute, how can this be? First, I thought I took it off the wrong end of the wing. I didn't. So that the outboard wing is done. I have to just some final sanding, This will be the inboard. And I hope tomorrow I can join the wing halves. The controls are in. And I think I'm going to put the adjustment system that Paul Walker came up with some years ago. You know, where he has separate flap horns, so you can use a screwdriver or an Allen head and adjust one of the flaps to meet the other. I think it's just the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I like it.
It
I don't
is.
know how to quite make it, but I'm really inspired by it, but I haven't made one yet.
Yeah, there's a good article in the Stunt News. It's got to be 8 years ago, where
Yeah.
Paul had a diagram of it. If you don't mind, before I go, I'm just starting to get the word out. Unless you've seen Stunthangar, on the 9th of February at 8:30 in the evening, East Coast time, I'm going to have anyone can listen Pampa web meeting, Zoom meeting. Okay.
Cool.
Whether you're a Pampa member or not. I'm going to try to do 2 a year, spaced around the Pampa meeting at the Nats. So this is about the right time to have one, and have the other one probably, well, whatever it falls. Just to be able to have a good communication. You know, Matt Colin and I are going to be the moderators. I have no idea how many people are going to come. Whoever comes, comes. But I like to be able to reach out and get to see and hear the Pampa members, not just the board. We know what we look like. And we're going to go over the Nats a little bit, going to go over what's happening with presentations at the banquet. And so if any of you want to come in, please do it. It's an open invitation. All you have to do on Stunthangar is go in there and find it. And on there is the link. You can just click on that and get in. So
What was the date again, Mark?
I'd appreciate someone on that, and I'll remind you again, but it's February 9th, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And so thank you for your time.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, while you're up, Sparky said, split it horizontally, your wingtip, and sand the difference and glue it back together. So saw it in half horizontally, sand the difference, and glue it back together. That's from Sparky.
Yeah. I thought of that, and I think I had a problem maybe with the length if I did that.
Yeah.
If I saw it too much out, you know, it brought it in a little bit, but I'll think about that. I just hope I never do it again.
Yeah, well, you know, I actually have a little short story. When I was building my Nobler, first time doing block wingtips, you know, and one thing I do, I don't really do enough roughing it in. I always go for the juggler, go for perfection, right? And in my pursuit of just making it absolutely perfect, I kept sanding and sanding. And then when I finally went back to put it up against at the end of the wing, I had made it too small.
Yep.
And I was so gutted. I just put the plane away for months and months and months. So I figure out how I was going to fix this, you know. I ended up cutting the part of the block closest to the trailing edge. I just cut that piece off and glued on another solid piece of wood on that, and then I just cut that in half and able to continue on. But it took me a while to process, how am I going to get myself out of this predicament, you know?
Yep.
Hey, Dennis, you raised your hand.
Yeah,
What's
I
up?
just wanted to go back to Mark for a moment. On the Pampa meeting, is it going to be an open chat like this, or is it going to be basically people are expecting people to just tune in on YouTube, or what do you think?
No, it's a Zoom meeting.
It'll be a Zoom meeting.
I can handle up to
Okay.
about 200, I think, and it won't be that big. And it's, you know, Matt and I will probably take 15 minutes and talk about everything we want people to know about. And then I'd like to hear, you know, what we need to do that we're not doing, and just connect. So it'll be as long as people have questions or comments or ask for my resignation, whatever it is.
You ain't that lucky, brother.
Well,
And Sparky goes on to say, he said, just add wood in the center and add wood. It's only wood, easy fix. I think he's referring to my mistake, not yours.
I think so. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was before I knew you, Sparky. And so I know I could have called you and you could have told me how to fix it, but I just thought about it. I came up with it. The not tonight, but some night I'll show pictures of it. It's in the matter of fact, our calendar has pictures of my Nobler in it. When we get to that month, you'll see my Nobler. It's pretty. It was actually an article in Stunt News about my Nobler. So I had a question for Lynn. I'm really curious about the transition from the wing, which is going to be film, to the fuselage, which is paint, the fillets. I'm wondering how are you going to do the fillets if you're intending?
What I do with the fillets, is I leave a gap between the wing and the fuselage about a 1/4 inch. Okay. And what I do is I put super fill in there. Okay. I mask it all off and I put super fill in. So then the super fill comes basically almost within a millimeter of the covering. Okay.
Okay.
And then what I do is I sand the fuselage like I normally would and put my dope on and cover it all and everything, but I don't put hardly any paint on the fillets. I don't put too much. I may put one, the equivalent of 1 coat of clear dope on the fillets. That's it. Nothing else. And then when I go to do, and I make sure I sand them out as nice as I can, because I don't want any bubbles. I don't want the paint to bubble in the fillet. Then when I'm ready to paint the fuselage with the color paint, I mask it all up, mask the airplane all off. And what I do is I wrap the wing and wrap the tails and everything with tin foil, like Windy used to do it. So everything's now covered in tin foil except the fuselage. And then I spray paint the fuselage.
Yeah.
Now
right up to the edge of the tape. And when I peel the tape off, it's finished. Like it's done. It's all the painting's done. I don't have to do anything. So I mask on the actual ultra coat and I leave just enough ultra coat that you can see the color there. You see what I'm saying? At the edge of the masking tape, there's just maybe a millimeter of ultra coat showing, and I paint right over that.
Okay, all right.
How many coats do you put on your fuselage?
How many coats of what?
Paint.
Well, what I usually do is I do 2 or 3 coats of clear to start with. Give it a very light sand, and then a couple of coats of clear and talc. And I sand between each coat. So I'll sand the clear and talc on the fuselage to get a nice smooth finish. And then I put another, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 coats of clear on top of that, sanding with very fine paper. And then when I'm happy with it, then I spray my color dope, which is usually I'm thinning it about 60-40.
Well, I'll tell you a trick that works, but I didn't do it for years after I was told about it, but I kept thinking, well, this is a guy that knows what he's doing and he's done this for years. So anyway, I get the wing painted if I'm doing a painted wing, and I film it if I'm doing a film one.
Right.
And I've got them both ways. And get your fuselage all ready for color. You have not put the fillets on the wing yet.
Okay.
Paint the fuselage. You still haven't put the fillets in. When you get ready for your final coat to go on the fuselage, because you usually take 2 or 3 coats on the fuselage. I always do 2 anyway. When you get ready for that final coat, stop and put your fillet in. But the whole idea of the thing is for you want to have one good coat of dope on there, sanded down about to the fillet, one so you know it's sealed, a little bit for a primer or tack coat, and your color coat, and then 1 coat of clear over those fillets.
That's right.
Since I started doing that, I've never had a bubble. I've never had a peel. I've never had any problems.
Exactly, because the secret is not to put too much paint in the fillet. If you put too much paint in the fillet, you just wreck the whole thing. I've learned that too.
Another trick is if you're going to film the fillet, the wing, bring your dope, every time you put a coat on, whether it's colored or clear, move your masking tape back just a little bit further out on that film wing so you don't get layers. You know, you don't get this mess. It's all nice and smooth. You can
Right.
sand it in much easier that way. I mean, when
You know, like I say
Reeves
though,
and
I
Jim-
don't put any filler coat on the fillets. I never put talc and clear on the fillets because
Oh,
number
no,
one,
not that. I
okay.
mean just your clear
just
coats.
your clear coats.
Your
Okay,
color
yeah,
and
okay.
clear. Yeah,
Okay.
you don't want any more coats to have. But
No, I see, okay.
Jim
Right.
Lynch and Charlie Reeves told me about that, and I had to sit back and think about that. But when those two guys tell you something, I mean, those guys
You might
know.
want to listen. Yeah.
Yeah, you might want to listen. So I came
Let me,
home and I said, I think Charlie's lost it, but I did one, and it worked so well. I had to call him and tell him you were
That's
right.
awesome.
Let me interrupt you guys. And I see you, Keith, but John had he raised his hand digitally ahead of you. And so John Miller go, and then Keith Trossel go, excuse me. Go ahead, John Miller.
Okay, Brother Keith.
Yeah.
I agree with what Lenny and geez, names anyway,
Phil.
Phil have been talking about. But there's one little thing that Alan Brickhouse taught me. When you bring in when you're putting your monocoat or your oil cover or whatever you're putting on your wing,
Yeah.
paint the edge that goes up to the fuselage, and then run that paint right up to the fuselage. Now you've got intermittent between when you put in your fillet, it's capturing and attaching to the wood and the monocoat or the covering. And you can then you take it the same way. You do the same thing and you move it like Phil was talking about as you're putting your paint coats on, so that they taper out instead of all building one on top of the other, and you got a terrible sanding problem you got there. It's a lot easier to sand out. But I've done it with that paint edge to the fuselage, and that works extremely well. Extremely
Okay.
well.
Okay.
And then Keith, go ahead, Keith.
Well, I
And
just gonna
then you,
suggest,
Gordon, after Keith.
I'm just gonna suggest, that's where the nitrate dope comes in as your base coat for everything on your airplane. You put nitrate dope over your fillets and it will not blister ever.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Really?
that.
And then the paint will stay stuck to that nitrate better than
Okay.
anything else. And I think we probably all have the sin about when you're spraying your color and even your top coat and all that, and you're doing the junction there between the wing and the fuselage, you run the sprayer over that. Boy, that looks good. So you do it again, that looks better, and you do it again, looks even better, and then you end up with too much paint. And if you don't have that nitrate dope on the bottom, you're going to get a blister.
Exactly.
Never fails.
And then Sparky, speaking of this paint, Sparky said, knowing Lynn's paint, at least 15 coats.
Oh, come on.
Wait a minute, that's the old Len. This is
The
the new
old Len.
lightweight, ultra thin Len, all right? So
Yeah.
Oh, me.
Tell Sparky to remember how much my bear weighed at the nets.
Go ahead, Dennis.
yeah, just a quick, Keith's talking about the nitrate dope. You know, I was reading up on it. I was wondering why aircraft suppliers are even still selling it, and learned that in full-size aircraft, they use polyester coverings, and butyrate dopes will not stick to the polyester coverings. Nitrate dope will. So if you're using a finishing process that has polyester covering, or in our case, polyspan, it's really imperative that the first coats on the polyspan be nitrate, or else you're taking a chance that anything else that goes on top is just going to sit on top or pull off as soon as you pull off a piece of tape.
Wow.
And that was a revelation to me. I'd never heard about it. I've never used polyspan before, and I've been considering trying it. I'm trying to learn whatever I can about it. And that's one of the things that I learned, that if you're going to use a polyester based covering or a polyester covering, you really need to basically, attach it and do at least a couple of coats of nitrate on it first. And the dope isn't going to stick to the polyester, but it's going to stick to the butyrate will stick to the nitrate dope that's in the polyester. Okay.
All right.
So,
I'm sorry, Gordon. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Go ahead, Gordon.
Back to the fillets. John Miller told me about this, and we use spackling paste, like sheetrock paste.
Mm-hmm.
And after I put the fillet in, I take a film of that and make a fillet over the top of my letter fillets. And then I blend them in, and I don't care how much dope goes on there. I put a coat on with every other coat right over the fillets and have not had a blister.
You've been lucky.
That stuff stick to that sheetrock paste super good. And
You gotta make sure it's good and dry though.
Pardon? Oh, yeah.
Sheetrock mud for fillets. Wow, I've never heard
That-
of
Well,
that.
it's a
spackling.
lightweight spackling compound.
Is that spackling? Is that what you're talking about?
I've done it and I've had chunks come out. So be careful. Be very careful. My hotter net, I had a chunk come out.
Wow.
And somebody told me, I don't remember who it was, but somebody told me I must have painted the thing in a hurry and painted it before the spackling completely dried. But
Yep.
I don't do anything to do with paint in a hurry. It was well dried. But,
I have found that the spackle, the regular spackle, not the lightweight, seems to handle a lot better. I've had no luck with the lightweight at all. It doesn't
Yeah,
shape
just
right,
need,
doesn't
you
sand
need to
worth a
go, you
darn.
need to go to the hardware store and ask for the special model airplane lightweight spackling.
Well,
I'll try that, Keith. I
worked
have
as-
not done that, so, okay.
I worked as a drywall finisher for 40 years, so I
That'll do it.
I
Yeah.
might be doing something a little different. I don't know.
Mhm.
But
do you put anything in it when you use it, John? Because I had a guy, I had a house we just sold and a year or two ago, and I was redoing the roof in one of the upstairs bedrooms, the ceiling. And the guy told one of the contractors came out and looked at what I was doing, and he said, "Man, don't you know how to do that?" I said, "Well, I mean, it's a 5-gallon jug of mud. You stir it up and put it on your thing, put it on your trowel and put it up there. It's not really that complicated." And he mixed some plaster of Paris with it. And we put that stuff up, and 45 minutes later, we could sand it.
well, yeah,
It was quick.
yeah,
Why-
you can do that. But if you want to, you can buy. It's dry. It's a dry mix, anywhere from 2.5 hours to 20 minutes.
That's right, yeah.
To set.
Yeah, I know
And
that stuff.
I've never seen or heard of that before, but he got in there and finished that room in about less than an hour. He had the room
Yeah.
finished, and it was just blowing my mind. He said, "You're just spending way too much time up here working. You're working yourself crazy." Okay.
That's something I wouldn't mind trying with the lightweight. I buy the stuff. It's actually regular finishing compound, but it's the lightweight finishing compound. You can get it in a 5-gallon bucket or a 1 quart bucket. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a 5-gallon bucket of it downstairs. We never opened.
Well, and I would try a batch with a little bit of plaster of Paris in it. See if it, because the main problem that you have with those kind of fillets is if you get on it too quick, it's got moisture in it, you can get bubbling. Also, there's
Oh, yeah.
there's some I have gone and put a thin layer of CA over them after they're dry, really dry. Put a thin layer of CA on them to seal them, and then lightly sand that, and then put on some clear dope over it, and then let that dry good, because what I think the bubbles come from is you put a shrinking dope on there and it tries to shrink in that radius and it pulls the film off.
That might be what does it. I don't know. I'd had so much trouble with a couple of my planes that
Yeah.
Sparky was at Huntersville, and I saw his P-47 and looked at it and just asked him, "What do you use for fillets?" And he says, "Look at any of my videos, for crying out loud, where you been?" So that's when I first got to know Sparky. I found out he will argue back with you. It's no fun razzing somebody when they won't argue back. Sparky will. And he told me how to do it. And I thought he was crazy to buy this $25 for this blue crap. What is this stuff? But it works.
Yeah.
super fill. It works.
Super fill,
buy
that's
it-
what I
but buy
use,
it-
yeah.
The
Buy it from
prettiest,
aircraft spruce or something. Don't buy it from. I mean, I hate to say this, and y'all have to excuse me, but if you buy it from Brodak, you're going to get about 4 ounces, $25. If you buy it from aircraft spruce, you get about 12 ounces, $25.
yeah.
You do the math.
The
Is it the
prettiest,
same name? Is it under the same name, Super
Yeah,
Fill?
they call it
Okay.
super. They call it
Okay.
super fill, and that's
Okay.
what it is at aircraft spruce too. Same
Right.
stuff. You open it up, it looks the same. My wife says it smells the same. I can't smell, so I don't know what it smells like, but it works the same,
the,
and it's same price.
the
Go ahead,
prettiest
Des.
fillets, the prettiest fillets I ever saw, I'll just go real quick, Des, was on Gordon's Gemini twin. They were probably an inch radius fillets on it. And they were just, what were they?
5/8,
5/8?
5/8.
Boy, they were beautiful.
Thank you, John.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Keith Trossel was looking out there at Whittier one year, asking, what are you using for fillets? I was using leather at that time. Well, I still use leather. My little Heinz has got leather on it, but I put that
Fackle.
spackle paste over the top and lightly sand it, so it's still transparent. You still see the leather.
That's neat. I've never tried the leather. Go ahead, Dennis.
Neither
What
have
you
I.
got?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, I've got some of the old, the brown epoxylite style stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had,
Works
Microballoons?
fine and everything like that, but compared to the blue stuff, it's much harder to
Hard-
sand and things like
hard to
that.
sand,
Heavier. Has anybody ever tried just like mixing micro balloons with it or something like that to
yeah,
try
I've done
to?
that. That's the only way I can get it to work.
Okay, if you do that, does it start behaving like superfill?
No. Super
Well,
fill is a different animal, and it works much better.
Okay, because it's
Much
still an
easier to use.
epoxy base. I didn't think there was any other, how, there's limits to how much sorcery you can put in that stuff, so.
Yeah.
But,
But every once in a while, we need to listen to Sparky because
Mhm.
he is a pretty sharp guy. He's
Yeah,
a
my
little
trouble
crazy.
with buying the, a friend of mine just went, you turned me on to, I think it was Wix with the, the superfill and stuff, and it was like, yeah, it was like a quart of it or something like that. And yeah, it was a great price, but that is more than I have used in my entire lifetime and more than I would use,
In the next
I'd end up
lifetime.
throwing it out before I'd use it all.
That's a
Yeah.
good
That was the
point.
only reason I was a little standoffish about trying to buy it in the first place, because it was available and I thought, the large quantity or too large a quantity, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Hey, I got 35 airplanes to build. I'll use it. I'm buying it.
Ah,
Yeah.
geez.
Very
All right.
good, man. I have a comment in the chat box. Tom Ramel gave us a like. Thank you very much. And speaking of that, if you haven't hit the like button, please smash that like button. Also consider subscribing to our
Why not?
YouTube channel. Won't cost you nothing to subscribe and either also to like. But if you want, you can support us by joining our YouTube channel. And it's only starts at $4.99 a month. And McBride 001, I believe that's Ruben, or it's Stephen McBride. He says superfill will bubble if you apply too much dope to it. So I mask off the fillets and apply a thin coat of epoxy. That seems to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And then I interrupted you, Keith Trossel. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, the nitrate still solves a lot of those problems. And I was going to say about the superfill, I had 2 containers of superfill I've had for years and years, and I was going to use it on the big job. Tried mixing it up and tried thinning it out, and I said, this is not good. I had a gift certificate from Aircraft Spruce, so I got a new batch. And it's working just fine, thank you.
Very good. Now, speaking of superfill, you have to be very careful to not do any cross contamination, right? When you use that.
Oh yeah, it's an A and a B part for sure. Don't use the same spoon to scoop both sides out. No, that would be a
Never.
bad deal.
Exactly.
Right. I have some superfill.
Hey,
I just wanted-
Charles.
Who was that?
Carl. Charles.
Yes, Carl.
Yeah. Hey, Gary, are you awake?
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that I sent you a letter, so keep an eye out for it, all right?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Carl.
Hey,
Uh,
what, Charles?
Yeah, John.
Well, while Dennis is here, a week or so ago, we talked about wing shapes for that plane I'm working on, and I wanted to show him that what I've come up with
Yeah, go ahead.
and see if he's got any suggestions for me. So if you don't mind.
Not at all. Please share.
Okay, now I got to get this out of here. I
Yeah.
moved it over so I could see. There we go.
One of the great aircraft designers of all time, quoted as saying, "What looks like a wing will fly almost as good as the best wing." So,
Well, you know,
So-
what I've done is I got one with a forward swept trailing edge. Is it coming up yet?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
No, not yet.
Well, let me try. There, it should be
now
now.
we got
That
something.
looks like it's trying to come now.
Oh, can you make it bigger?
How's that? Okay, here's the two wings. This is the one I had with the more extreme.
I like
sweep.
it. That looks good.
And this is the one with the swept forward trailing edge.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I do
Uh,
too.
I just, I want to, I had to scale that up a little bit. It's up to, this is 650 and this is about 583. So, trying to remember what the swept forward is. I think it's like 5 degrees. Does it, let me make it bigger.
That looks right. That looks very
Yeah,
right.
I'm just kind
I
of
like
curious. Why'd you have to make it bigger?
Well, because I wanted 650 squares.
Oh, okay. So you're making it bigger anyway. You didn't have to make it bigger as a course
No,
because you swept it. That's all.
no. It was because I wanted the size at 650.
Okay.
So the
Yeah,
flaps
no,
are
It
smaller.
looks good to me. I like the spar is a little straighter across the wing.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, if you want to take an extreme, you might just do a quick outline. Imagine if the spar was dead straight, wingtip to wingtip, you would get very little taper in the leading edge and a lot more in the trailing edge and stuff like that. But you might take a look at what that looks like. And it's just efficient structurally. That's all.
yeah.
I like the shape that you have. I like it. I like the forward swept. Of course, I'm biased that way, no pun intended. But I'd like that better than the straight look, the straight trailing edge look. So
Yeah, it looks good.
I tell you what, John, you get that drawn up. Send it to me. I'll go get it copied. And make Bill one. That's sharp. I like that.
Well,
That's it.
okay. Yeah.
You can count on Phil to build it, whatever you lay out. All right.
No, not whatever. Not whatever.
That's it. He's
Well,
your
I
Huckleberry.
got a set of plans the other day from a friend of mine in Argentina, and he says if you build this, I guarantee it's supposed to be the next world beater. And I don't really know him that well, but I've met him a few times. He travels to the States. He sent me a copy of this thing, and it looks for the world to me like a now I forgot the name of the airplane, ballerina.
Huh.
Okay.
Oh, really?
And I looked at it, I said, well, it's a good airplane, but it's not something that I would build. No, those rotors are just way too big for me. But
Ballerina's a goofy airplane for me. It's like I remember everybody talking about this beautiful, beautiful airplane. And I look at it and come on,
yeah, I love a Cobra. I love the
All
Cobra.
in the
but
eye of the
ballerina,
beholder.
no.
Yeah, it is. That
Yeah.
is true.
Hey, Denny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple more questions. I thinned down the flaps a little bit. See here, this is the flaps that they are on the plane behind me, the same area. And I thought I'd lighten up and run the flaps out to here, to the.
Yeah, and I guess I was going to ask you why you did that. More curiosity than anything. I guess I would have expected you to keep the same root and tip on the flaps, just bend the trailing edge.
Well, I didn't want to get too much.
But it looks like you've gone to a more constant chord, narrower, more constant chord flop.
Yeah. Well, and it actually is an eighth of an inch wider from here to here than it is on this side.
Mhm.
But, so it's hard to see, and that's what I wanted. And it is a 3/4 inch asymmetry on it. I think I like the idea of straightening it out, but I don't think I'll do it on this wing.
Mhm.
Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, do it as an exercise. That's all, just for your own, benefit, whatever.
Yeah.
And did you say you have a asymmetrical span?
Yeah, 3/4 of an inch.
Hey, Len, should you tell him or should I?
Go for it.
Equal spans, baby.
Yes, sir. Equal span panels.
I've done equal spans and I wound up having to have more tip weight.
All right.
Not if
Well,
you use
why?
Spectra.
Well, yeah, but let's take Spectra with the 3/4 inch asymmetry and say maybe having half, or not a half foot, but anyway, there'd still be less weight than a equal span. So tell me why equal span is the desired configuration other than
Well,
that.
it's just
Easier to deal
my
with.
prejudice after
I
building a
agree.
bunch of airplanes both ways. It just seems
Me
to me
too.
that I can trim the airplanes with equal span wings better.
I agree. I agree 100% with Dennis.
And every single airplane I have, and I got, things like SVs and stuff like that. Every single one I have that has an asymmetrical wing, every single one of them hinges.
Yeah, can't get them right. No matter
I
how
can't get
hard
it
you
out of
try.
it. All right.
Can't do it. I keep trying and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
John, do you remember my maroon?
Yeah.
5 powered one that had
Yeah.
equal length wings?
It had what?
Equal length wings.
Did
Both
it?
the same,
Yeah.
and it flew awesome.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did. Well,
Gordy, on a routine basis, do you routinely go equal span then, or offset, or what do you think?
Well, I think it's better to have them equal myself.
Yeah,
I kind of do too, honestly.
Now, on my classic airplanes, I build them the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
I don't.
Yeah. Same as original. I agree. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got to do that. But
And a lot of the airplanes I've chosen, I look at that before I decide which one I'm going to build.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I figure I got an All-American. That's got enough asymmetry for the next 30 airplanes that I'll
Good
build.
grief. In-house.
3 inches,
Divide that out. So
3 inches on the inboard wing.
yeah, 3.5, I think it is.
Yeah, I was gonna build one of those until I saw that and decided not to build it.
Well,
It's a great
what's
fine
the
airplane,
story? Keith might know about this. Wasn't there an airplane called the All Canadian that was basically an All American built with the fuselage moved on the center or something like that?
All Australian.
I don't know about that.
Okay, I had heard that, and then Phil just mentioned the All Australian was built, but the All Australian that I've seen at least has a totally different fuselage and everything like that. Very
I
nice,
think you're right.
very nice airplane. Tom Dixon's
Yeah, I
had
think
some
you're
of
right.
those.
I like the All Australian. That's right.
Yeah.
Somebody had one at VSC.
Yep. Yeah, my only knock on it is that I'm more in, like Keith said, there are 4 really killer old time airplanes. And there's a few others out there that are good. But I'm starting to focus in. I'm going to start focusing in on odd ducks. So I got the Moidal waiting. I got a short kit for a Moidal waiting for me.
All right. I've got one downstairs myself, but I made it myself. I just haven't finished. I've got all the parts in the box, just hadn't finished the thing yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But mine will have a motor mount. So it won't have that radial mount thing. I don't like that idea of mounting it to the back of the motor.
I'm not crazy about that. Yeah, but yeah.
Hey,
Keith, what are the 4 killer airplanes again?
Well, for old time, as Keith was mentioning, what the Big Job, the Humongous, the Jameson, and the Big Madman, right?
That's it. Madman 56.
Yeah, Madman 56. I think those are the 4 that, that the people were really, really serious about campaigning old time stunt. That's what they fly and everything like that. but
have
there's a
two
lot
of
of other good flying airplanes. I happen to like my All-American, even though it's kind of a funky flyer because of the way it hinges and stuff, but it doesn't it doesn't keep it from doing the tricks or anything like that. And
What motor you got in yours? It's electric though, isn't it?
yeah, it's a 2815.
Okay.
I'm gonna be downsizing it a little bit. It's a little nose heavy, so I'm gonna see if I can put a smaller, a different motor in it to try to take some weight out of it. But
Well, we got a guy here that's flying one. Tom Looper's got one. It's well, let me think now. Brodak 40.
Mhm.
And he says it's as light as a Fox 35, so it doesn't,
Mhm.
but it does not have the torque problem on takeoff. I can't believe a Fox has more torque than a double star. But anyway, this thing flies, I mean, beautiful. But Tommy can
Well,
land this full thing.
I think, well, maybe some of it is out of, misplaced or something like that.
I don't know, but this one works.
I
Go ahead,
fly
Dave.
mine with a reverse pitch prop. So, and DeBolt flew, of course, the other direction. He flew clockwise. So he had the engine torque working for him. And so do I. Well, mine takes off, it's a non-event, total non-issue. So,
Well, I did that with mine too, with a Fox 35 with a reverse crank, which you can't get anymore.
mhm.
But Lord, I'm telling you, that's, if I were doing another one and still put a motor in, that's what I'd do if I could find that crank. But I think I would get in touch with you and find out what electric motor to put in it now.
Hey, John?
Hey, hang on. Sorry, Mark. I'm sorry. Barry, I see you just a second, but John, go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to say, Jimmy Rhodes up here in Salt Lake area had a campaign day, All-American Senior for quite a while, but he had a OS 25 FP in it. And
Oh
it was
yeah, well, that's
about
a great choice.
perfect amount of power for it. It flew very well.
That's a great choice for it.
And then Barry, go ahead, and then Mark Wise.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I didn't want to be rude when I left, but I just wanted to say thank you for letting me in tonight. And I got to go get some sleep. I got an early day tomorrow. So
No problem. Thanks for coming in, Barry. I
Come
appreciate
back
it.
anytime.
Good to see you.
Anybody who has thinking about coming in, please come in. You don't have to be an expert. You can come on. Everybody's welcome, and it helps the show because sometimes life events takes us out for a while, and it's nice to have a lot of people to populate the show, so that if people have to bow out because of a life coming event in their life. So I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much.
well, I hope you accept me back. I'll come back.
Oh, you're welcome anytime.
Good deal.
Thanks,
Y'all take
Barry.
care.
Thank you, Barry. Thanks for coming in. And
All right, Barry.
go ahead, Mark.
No, I wasn't sure John got all his questions answered.
Yeah, I saw it, but I saw Barry but thanks. I need help sometimes. You guys all help me out. I appreciate it. Do my best. And then Keith, go ahead, Keith.
Hey, Dennis,
Yeah.
if you want some oddball old-time airplanes, I could send you a whole list that nobody's heard about.
Wow.
Well, I was jealous when I heard you were building the Sweet Pea until you told me that it just didn't quite work as well as you had hoped.
If
So,
you could end up building it really light, fly it fast, and it might work. It's got only about a 12% airfoil on it. That's a problem.
mhm. Mhm.
But
Wow.
I've got plans came from Aeromodeler like in 1952. It won the New Zealand Nationals. And it's got a,
New Zealand,
yeah,
there we go. John, I'm
And-
sorry.
it's called the Vampire. And it's got a wing section that goes around the engine. In other words, the engine is in a tunnel inside the wing. And then it's got regular wings on the outside of that tunnel. It's got flaps, a strange pulley system for the flaps and the elevators. It's probably a 25 sized airplane. I don't know. It'd be something to try, just to see if you want really something different.
Are you familiar with the tandem trainer or tandem twister?
Yeah,
I did plans up for that for a guy in California.
Yeah, I've
Don't-
seen the plans.
don't
Has
do it.
anybody built one?
Lucky Pyatt built one,
Uh-huh.
and it was good to just get off the ground. And I said, Lucky, don't loop it, you're gonna lose it. He tried to loop it and he lost it.
Oh, geez. That's too
If it was
bad.
electric, he would have heard you, Keith.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Well,
He's-
Lucky is a good builder. I think I don't think he did anything wrong. It's just not a very big airplane, and it looks neat, but it doesn't fly very well.
Go ahead, John. John Karatis.
Yeah, Keith, that vampire you're talking about, did you say it was a New Zealand champ?
Yeah,
And
it's
what
in
year was it?
like 1952. It's in the Aero Modeler magazine and the Aero Modeler plans book if you ever find one. And I was
Good Lord.
somebody from Australia or New Zealand sent me plans. It's just a copy of a copy. They're not very good, but it's enough to build from. I'll see if I can find the article. Hold on.
I'd be fascinated because I've never heard of that particular model. I'd be fascinated.
Fantastic. Cool.
My uncle flew the real vampires. We had those in our Air Force, and he flew them for the RAF.
Wow.
And then he went into the stunt, the Red Arrows. You know, the leading up to what's now the Red Arrows, way back in the 50s. And quite a nice aeroplane to fly, but I don't think it was a particularly good gun platform.
Well, an old time
Thank you.
stunt, that could be important. You need a good gun platform.
There you go. That's nice looking one.
Oh, and the ambassador.
I absolutely love this airplane. It's an Aero Modeler plan. Apparently a pretty good flyer at one, I think it was the 1951 British Gold Cup or whatever. It's tiny airplane, 250 squares, I think, or
Oh, wow.
230,
Yeah,
something like that.
that's tiny.
And you see the wing is kind of thin. Had
Golly.
apparently a 1.8 liter diesel on it, you know, less than a 50 watt. That would be about a
Hanging
10,
out
I guess.
sideways. Good gracious. Sidewinder.
What size diesel do you think it was there?
I think it was a 1.8. Let me see if I can expand that. Fit to width. Elfin, oops. I gotta go bigger.
2.49.
Go big or go home.
All right, it was a 2.5. So
Look at all the cloth hinges on that baby.
Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad looking airplane.
no,
That's
it's
a
a nice
good-looking
look,
airplane.
very pretty shape. Just
It just-
so, you know, it's just so little that
Well, yeah, it's like the We Duper Zilch is a good flyer. It has a thick airfoil, but it's built. It's designed for a 10 to 15 size glow, and it's too small. You don't get any respect out there on the circle with it.
I tell you what, Terry McDowell flew one for several years when I was flying my Super Duper. He's flying the Wee Duper. And he was always something to contend with. That little plane will fly, but you got to get it light and you got to get it straight.
Yep.
well, you
It's
know
an
how I
elegant looking-
cheated on mine. All right, no, just let it go at that. But I made my Wee Duper electric, weighs just under 13 ounces, and it absolutely dances. All right, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
fabulous flying airplane. And so I've never taken it to an old time contest because, you know, it's got 1 inch wheels or 1.5 inch wheels on it. And, you know, there's a few places I could fly it. And like Phil says, nobody's going to pay much attention to it, but it would be cool to fly. And it is definitely going to get some contesting this year. So
It's a good flyer.
yeah. Anyhow, I think the Ambassador is one of those airplanes that gets overlooked because, you know, it's British, had a diesel in it, and diesels just never, you know, hooked up in America the way they did in Europe.
They
And,
smell funny.
I got a PAW diesel in that side.
I've
Yeah.
had
I'd say it's a cute airplane. That's
what
really
a
cute.
Tappan or Taipan?
Taipan?
Yeah,
Taipan, yeah.
Oh,
and it would probably be a power up versus a 1951 diesel, but
How big is it? What's the span on area?
it's 35 inches, I think.
Oh.
It's really tiny. Let's see, I gotta blow that back up. Oh, there we go. 35 and a half, 248 squares.
You could almost, that'd be great for a Cox 09.
Yeah, 11 ounces. I mean, when you look at how thin the wing was in 250 squares, it sounds like, you say Cox 09, sounds like one of the new, the 061s, what are they? Norvell's. That might be a heck of, and in 11 ounces, you might need something like that to keep it that light.
Yeah. Well, it looks to me like it was made to go fast.
Yeah. Well, again, put it, you can get it going fast and put it on some thin Spectra and stuff like that. No line drag or anything, so it keeps the speed. It'd probably be a heck of an airplane, but
It's an elegant looking aircraft.
Yeah.
Yates used to fly at 90 miles an hour or more in the pattern.
I just can't do that. I don't know about the rest of you, but I just can't do it.
Well, remember the guys who were flying 90 miles an hour also a lot of times were flying on 65 to 70 foot lines too.
Oh, okay.
Which is a nice equalizer. So
yeah, that could help.
Okay, Keith, I think might have found his picture there.
Yeah.
I'm on 63. That's about as long as I go.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the Vampire.
Oh, that's nice.
Published in Aeromodeler August 53, and it won the New Zealand Nationals in 1952.
There you go, John.
Good Lord.
Here's the kicker on this thing. I don't know if you can tell from the plans. The middle of the wing is hollow.
Oh, look at that.
There's an engine nacelle sits in the middle of the wing and blows through that hollow part of the wing.
Holy cow.
There, you can see.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Is that a pusher too?
No, it's a tractor.
Oh, okay. Okay. It looked like it almost had a spinner on the back there.
He's got sort of airfoil shapes in here to help keep the lines tight, I guess, with the airflow going through there.
Huh.
And the airfoil.
The ribs look weird.
Where are the airfoils? Well, here, the airfoil's up here. It's fairly thin. Have no idea how this thing applied, but it's got flaps.
Good Lord.
Wow.
And a big clipper.
Only on the outside of the wing. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Who designed it? Dennis, who designed it? Does it say?
Trevor and Dick Oliver of Tauranga, New Zealand.
Good Lord. Well, that's a first to me.
That airplane's crazier than a bag of hammers.
A bag of what?
John Corrales, what kind of airplanes do you guys see in your vintage meets and stuff like that?
In the vintage stuff?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's very similar to yours. We have a bit of pommy stuff here too, particularly in the combat stuff and that previous design that we were just looking at, that very elegant Ambassador. There was a series of pommy designs that came out with a very thin wing, and it was reminiscent of that, designed by a chap in Malaysia for combat, and he designed a whole series of them: the Mustang, the Zero, the Focke-Wulf 190, and something else. And it had the same wing as that. And I'm wondering if it was all the same. But I'm probably not the right person to ask. Somebody like Gerald Wimmer would give you a far better idea of what's going on in that department, because I've sort of just come back into this since I've retired in the last sort of 6 or 7 years. So I've got big gaps in the knowledge, but I don't think anyone in New Zealand could probably even remember that. I mean, I've never heard it spoken about before. I think
Yeah,
that's a
Keith,
very-
I was looking for unusual and unique and strange airplanes, but I think you may have, you got my goat on that one. That's all there
Yeah,
is to it.
absolutely.
Look
Yeah.
at the bell crank.
And the
Look at the
other
bell
thing
crank
is,
in that
it's
thing.
got a circular bell crank, and then it uses
Right.
cables to get controls to back here, and the rear end of the thing. Like, where does it show? Anyway, it's got a pulley in
Wow.
here that those cables go around, or here over here, to or one side or the other to work the elevators, and same thing. The pulleys work the flaps somehow or other.
Wow.
I wouldn't mind having a go at building that.
It'd be fun to build, see if it
Mhm.
works. And it's got a landing gear on it.
Yeah.
So at least the picture shows a landing gear.
Yeah, it'd be a shame paying the flap penalty, but
Yeah.
Fly it in a wheat field.
yeah.
Interesting playing, Keith. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I got-
Keith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dennis, if you're ever interested, I got more.
Well, actually, I was actually thinking about trying to repeat. My dad did the Cal Smith Delaney Duo Mono,
Yeah.
and it was just never quite got the thing completely trimmed out, but I always thought that one, I always liked that one. So
I like that Joker he flew.
yeah, the
For
Joker's a
several
good
years,
one.
he changed the monocoat on the side of the fuselage, make it a different color. But that was a good looking little airplane. I always wondered how in the world you get that motor to cool, because the motor's sitting here and the plane comes right up behind it. And the fuselage was actually taller than the motor. When I built mine, I cut that out where at least the head it had some way for air to blow over it. But I never finished the model. I ended up giving it to somebody. It was one of the guys came over here and just fell in love with the thing. I let him take it home. I don't think he's ever finished it. I'll have to ask him about that.
Charles,
Yeah, Jonathan.
I just thought of something. You were asking about older models. One of the first, or the first big model I've ever built, and I still have it, and it was a good flyer. Was, you guys might have heard of it over there. It was an Australian design, designed by a dentist in Queensland, 1951, I think. 1951, I think it was. A Calamity Jane.
Oh Lord,
Yeah,
Yeah, we
That
know
is a
that.
I've
good
seen
looking
that
design.
You know that-
hip hop aeronautics. I think I've seen
Yeah.
it there. Interesting plane, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good, after flying those diesel powered, Pommy designs, getting on the handle for the first time when that thing took off, I knew I'd just gone to a new world. It was just
there was two
It was
different
amazing.
versions of that thing. There was two different versions of that thing. Tom Dixon had showed me two different plans to that airplane, and one of them is really, really sharp, and the other one is not as nice, but it's still a good looking airplane.
It looked ugly in its original form, I think. I turned the engine upside down and put a bubble cockpit on it and
Yeah.
mucked around a little bit with it. And yeah, it's still quite a nice plane. I didn't get into I wasn't into the aerobatics like you guys are. And even now, I can't fly much. I've got a crook hip, so I'm waiting for an operation. So I'm sitting in a chair, and I can only do very basic stuff at the moment.
Oh,
Going
okay.
around and around, following them around, but having fun anyway.
Are you building planes though? Are you building model
Yes.
airplanes? So
Yep,
what are you building right now?
Well, I'm designing. Actually, I've pinched the design of some of the better ideas I've seen going, and I'm just going to try and bring something up here on my camera here. I don't know whether it'll work, but I've just designed a Hurricane.
Oh, nice.
Semi-scale stunt. It's got about a 52-inch or just under 1.3 meter wingspan, and it's a geodetic design like the type of wing Sparky's working on now. And incidentally, the proportions are almost identical. Sparky read them out yesterday to me, and my wing's very close to his. So if that's any indication, hopefully I've got my numbers right.
Yeah. I really
but
like his Junar XL. I flew that and I love that plane.
Oh yeah, they those big planes are just beautiful. I've been rebuilding and straightening out. You know, over the last few months, I've been straightening out airplanes that I have hanging up on the wall that have got.
Just 1 second, Jonathan. Keith's going to show us Calamity Jane for our audience who might not be familiar with what it looks like. Let me just show it real quick.
All right.
Calamity
That's
Jane.
it.
Thank you,
That's
Keith.
it. Yep.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Wow,
That's it. That's the one.
Looking plane.
cool.
I think that's a good looking airplane.
Yeah,
It
I
looks
One of
like
them-
it should
one of them
fly
has
well
a-
too, doesn't it?
It does fly well. One of them had a polywog looking wing, and then that one's got a conventional type wing. And this one, I know this one flies good because there was a guy at VSC, East Coast VSC, East Coast Golden Oldies, that had one of those and beat me. I had to go over and look and see what the heck it was. It was a pretty airplane.
Wait,
Really pretty airplane.
Somebody
Is that
did
old
well
time or
enough-
is that classic or old
That's
time?
classic.
Oh,
He flew
okay.
it in classic.
Somebody did well in the classic or the Aussie Nats 10 years or so ago with a Calamity Jane.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think.
Thank
he
you
was-
very much, Keith.
Oh,
And
that's good.
I'm so sorry to interrupt
I
you,
would
John.
I would so much love to be as organized as Keith is.
This is October 52, so it's old time legal.
It is
50,
old.
they flew it.
52.
He was flying it in
Excellent.
classic. He flew it in classic at the one he flew it in classic because he was flying it against my Oriental.
I think some
But
guys,
I guess it's old time legal. That's neat. I didn't know that.
I can remember a couple guys from Australia came to VSC and one of them had one of these, and I don't remember if they flew it in classic or old time, but pretty airplane.
Yeah.
Jonathan, can you
Yeah.
continue on or?
Well, I don't know whether you can see this, but I
This is Dennis
Is that-
I've seen
Sadamissi.
that.
I'm sorry.
I've seen that
I'm sorry.
before.
that's all right. I'll just hold my camera up.
I'll make it big, Jonathan, so maybe we'll see it off your camera.
Yeah, no, look, I'll try and get a better photo next time, and I'll get my act together. But
No
I was going to
worries.
show you,
Yeah.
show you something I was working on.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're not going to show it? You're not going to try?
I don't think I can find it again now. I was just going to hold my phone literally to the
Yeah,
to
go
the,
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Hi.
want to-
You want to go out?
Go ahead, Jonathan.
My
I'll
son,
take
my
it
son
in.
keeps sending me photos. I don't know where the hell he gets them from, but they turn up on my camera and stuff things up. It's
What?
actually what I'm looking for is actually a cardboard. I wanted to prove a few years ago that cardboard would fly. Anything will fly if you put enough horsepower on it, you know. And I decided to build this thing again because it was like flying a Jersey cow on the end of a fishing line. It was such a good trainer. And here, look, I don't know whether this will work, but I'll stick
Oh,
it up.
wow. That's interesting.
That's my grandson holding it.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
It looks enormous in there.
Yeah,
And-
that is enormous.
Show you another photo of it. You might recognize the lady in it. She's telling everybody to. Oops, it's all disappeared now. Anyway, I had a cartoon of Jacinda Ardern in the cockpit, facing the right way on one side, on the port side, and on the starboard side, she's leaning backwards, screaming at everyone to either get in behind or jump off. So I think she's made up her own mind on that one. Yeah. Yeah, so that's about it from me for now, anyway.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it. And thank you for coming in too. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's a
immensely.
pleasure. Loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you came in. I saw you on the chat box and I'm glad you was able to make it in. Edward Carlisle, he sends us a like. Thank you very much, Edward Carlisle. It's been a while since you've been in, Edward. And then go ahead, Phil.
Mark, has Will retired yet?
What?
Has Will retired yet?
No, he's retiring in about 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's great.
I knew it was coming close. I just couldn't remember when.
Yeah.
as big a pain in the butt as he is at a contest now, he's gonna be even worse when he has time to practice.
Yeah, he's ready.
I'm telling you, I bet he is. That guy has worked so long. I just, whew, he's tough.
All right.
Here we go. That's what I wait for. What
Yeah,
plane
this
is that?
is, this is obviously, this is for
Oh, this is
Keith.
the Pagan.
That's it.
I have seen one of those. I don't remember where.
Yeah, the designer, John Cosby or Cosby,
Cosby.
and I mean, he
Hold
there's
on.
a whole bunch of Aero modeler plans with his names on it. He also did things like the Icarus and the
Aeromodeler,
Icarus Junior and a couple of the other big airplanes. What, the Taurus, was that his too?
Taurus was his too, probably.
Yeah, okay. With big, rubber band on, wings rubber banded on and stuff, even a little one and stuff, but,
Yeah.
and Keith, you said this is actually based on a de Havilland.
He'll be back. He's gonna get something.
Oops, okay. I think he said it was based on one of the de Havilland racers. It's kind of a standoff scale version of it. So it's got very pretty outlines. De Havilland, if there's an
Love those long
aircraft
narrow
company
wings.
that did things right, I'd always thought de Havilland did more things right than just about anybody, but, uh-oh.
Oh, look at here.
Looky there, we don't need to settle for a plan. I'm out of here.
All right, maybe
It's
get
the
big.
real deal, pal.
Let me get big, Keith. 1 second. That is a pretty.
Right, look at
Oh,
that.
look at there.
Look at that.
Wow,
That is pretty.
that's a thing of beauty.
It just kind of had a disaster.
Oh, a big disaster.
How did it fly though?
Well, we talked a little bit about this before. It's a great flying airplane. Did a really nice job with the old time pattern. And this had an OS 25, the old version of it, like a Stunt 35, just smaller version of it. And it's just like you get into a sports car, you fly this thing, it says, okay, boss, where do you want to go? And it'll take you there. And it's a fun airplane to fly. The only problem with this thing, it had a strange landing gear on it that would want to tip over. It just, the landing gear is not in the right place. And the original showed a wing that's held on with rubber band, and the same rubber bands held the landing gear in place. So I put a fixed gear in it, and is at a strange angle, and it had the legs on the gear were at a wrong angle to the airflow, and it caused problems in the trim of the airplane. But after you got that figured out, long as you could get it off the ground fine and get a good landing, it'd give you a good score. And this is a semi-scale airplane. The
Wow.
TK, I think Dennis, you were talking about it, is a small racer in the 30s called the TK4, and it was red like this. And this is pretty close to scale, except oversized tail. And it's got a tapered wing. This is way ahead of its time for a stunt plane. Tapered wing, symmetrical, fairly decent thickness. A big tail, which is okay, but still fairly short coupled. Had an inverted cowled-in engine, which wasn't seen very often in 1952, 1951. But it's a pretty little airplane.
Sure is.
Yeah, Keith, I'd have to go back to the plan, but didn't the original, as published, didn't it show the bell crank in the fuselage with an
Yes.
external? Okay,
Is it take apart rubber band wings, so the bell crank was in the fuselage. And
Yeah,
had a lead out
okay.
guide, showed a lead out guide out here on the wingtip.
Wow.
What was that engine? I see some of the engine still there, but what was it?
Is it OS 25, like the little brother of the Stunt 35?
Oh wow, that's a shame.
Hey, Keith, I have one. I'll send it to you if you want to try to get that ready for VSC instead of finishing the big job. But
Well, I've got another one of those engines, chrome plated by George Aldrich. I'm awful tempted to use it sometime.
okay,
Ooh. That'd be a good home for it. Beautiful little airplane.
That is pretty.
that is. And actually seeing it in your hands, it looks bigger than I thought it did looking in
It's
the
a lot
plan.
bigger
I
than
thought
I
it was
thought it'd
a
be.
smallish
Yeah, it does
airplane,
look
but
bigger than those plans we saw.
What
Yeah.
is it? I think 42-inch span or something like that.
Okay, so it's basically ringmaster size. Okay.
That's, yeah.
Very nice.
I
Edward
really like that.
Carlisle.
That's neat.
Camera.
Shame you can't move the landing gear around and get it somewhere where it would work a little better.
Yeah, and have it, the landing gear is sitting there to where the fairings on the struts were at an angle to the
Oh,
airflow.
yeah.
And I think it caused some problems with how
Yeah, that's always a problem.
the thing would respond to the controls. Anyway. that
Sure
was-
I sure like the paint scheme you put on it.
I do
Yeah, it's
too.
pretty.
The original
Mm.
racer was red and had this white stripe on it and had this thing back here. I put the number 51 on it because that's the year it was published.
Hey, Howard. Howard's in the house. Howard Rush. Thank you for
Hey,
joining.
Howard, good
Howard.
to see you.
Howard,
And let me see here.
Keith, you might not hear me. I've got a question for Keith.
All right, when he comes back, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Edward Carlisle, he said he's waiting on a camera, waiting on a computer, mic, and camera. Then he will join us again. He used to come in kind of regularly, but he's waiting on a new computer and with the mic and camera. So it looks like Keith has a bundle here for us.
Well, I talked about the color scheme I used on my big job.
Yeah,
This copy.
yeah.
That's done
Wow,
still
that
with the
is pretty.
Stuka that you took to World Championships.
That is pretty.
Pretty.
Yeah, I can see why you copied that. That's pretty.
For an old-time airplane, I think it's really nice.
It is.
Mhm.
I agree. And Lynn, I had a question for you too regarding the painted fuselage and the film wings. Do you use two different colors or do you match the color of the film?
I always try to use two different colors. I find I can't get a nice enough match to do it the other way. I've tried and every time it looks funky, so I don't do it anymore. So in other words, if I'm doing a yellow fuselage or a yellow wing, I'll do a black or a blue fuselage or red or whatever, not yellow. No way. It just doesn't work very well. I tend to find I'm always disappointed with it.
Yes, I'm actually thinking about painting the fuse on Precious Balsa and
Oh my
Filming
goodness.
the wing, yeah.
Oh my.
There we
goodness.
go.
I've seen that one before, but that,
Isn't
We
that
talked
is
about-
that is peculiar looking.
look at that airfoil.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And then it goes out to
So weird
0%.
at the end of the lines. That
Then it
was
goes to
peculiar.
0% out here.
Look where the lead outs come out, right on the trailing edge.
That
Goodness.
is
Well, the CHD on
crazy.
this thing should be right in here somewhere. So
Right.
What is that called, Keith?
it's called The Bat
The bat.
by Leon Schulman.
That's one of Leon's.
I bet it flies like a bat too.
It probably does.
Bet.
But Dennis, I think you ought to build one of these.
I'll watch.
I think I spoke way out of turn. Keith is loaded and ready for me here.
Yeah,
That's
he's
all there is
got
to
your
it.
number.
Different. He definitely has it for you in spades.
That's it. That's it. Keith, is that a drone diesel?
I don't think he says.
Okay, reason I ask is that
Well-
there are so many airplanes that seem designed around the drone diesel. I think, I think Mr. Schulman is very good about pushing the product, shall we say? So,
Well, it looks like there's a glow plug on there and the,
okay,
sorry. The engine's completely inside the leading edge.
yeah,
I can't believe the motor
This
is what it
thing
is.
scaled up, this thing is like 3 inches wide here and 12 inches, 25%.
Wow.
was the whole center section, no, wait a minute. I'm
No, it
trying
all
to,
tapers from the root down here to 0.
yeah, okay. Wow.
There you go,
Keith.
Dennis.
That's just neat.
Keith, I have a question for you.
Okay.
When are you going to open your museum and library to the public?
That brings up a question about what's going to happen to all this stuff. I wrote to talk to Bob Zambelli for quite a while the other night because he's kind of taking care of stuff going into the Kodak Museum. And I didn't get any kind of a definitive answer. There's nobody there that could take care of this stuff. It needs to go somewhere. And I know the AMA wouldn't be interested in it, but it needs to go somewhere. Maybe by the time that time comes, there'll be a Pampa library somewhere and it could all go there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Keith, my daughter lives across the runway from Bob's and Belly.
Really?
Yeah,
He's a nice guy. Seems like a nice guy. I've never, even though he's
Mhm.
been at VSC, I guess, I don't think I've ever met him.
yeah. Says he drives some real nice cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. He's got 3 real nice cars, especially that yellow Ferrari.
Yeah. And he just drove,
Bob's a great guy.
he flies right there on the airport.
I still want to see him fly his stunt rocket. I've never seen him
Yeah,
fly
you're right.
that
I've
one.
never seen him fly it.
I haven't either, but I want to. He
I
dared
just
me to
get a
build
kick
one.
out of when he flies his Viking with the OK Super 60 on it. That's
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen,
Yeah.
I want to end the live stream. We're going to continue on in the after party, but thank you so much for coming in and making this another good show. I appreciate it immensely. And so since I'm feeling a little bit better, I can actually say it right. So I wish everybody fair winds and tight lines.
Tight winds
We'll
and fair
see you
lines.
next Monday.
Hey, one thing,
Come
and
back, have it. Hopefully, you have a chance to work in your shop or go fly and come back and tell us all about it Monday. And I want to thank also Barry for coming in and Jonathan Carradas for coming in. Appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you very much. And hang on, we're just going to end the live stream, and we'll continue on what I call the after party.